This is an 11 Alive special presentation, Voices for Equality, celebrating AAPI Heritage.
Welcome to 11 Alive Voices for Equality. I'm Joe Ripley. Over the course of the next half hour, we're going to celebrate the Asian American Pacific Islander community right here in Georgia and beyond. The AAPI community is filled with a rich history and incredible achievements. We've got leaders in all fields, from the legislature to law enforcement to the arts and entertainment. But first, we begin with the importance of working to stop AAPI hate. It was just 2 years ago. Atlanta was the scene of a deadly massacre, taking the lives of 8 people, 6 of them Asian women. Now that tragedy is the subject of a new documentary looking back at what happened and how we can prevent Asian hate in the future. The director shares the documentary journey and message with Hope Ford.
If your China flu is shoved up your
okay, well done.
Taiwanese.
Sir.
Vile words, vicious attacks, murderous intentions.
Go back to whatever Asian country you belong in.
Years of hatred geared toward Asian Americans.
It's really hard to talk about this topic, you know.
TDU and her team went on a journey to document the mistreatment of Asian Americans, highlighted by the gruesome murders of 8 people at spas in Metro Atlanta.
Like, I wasn't surprised that it was that it happened. That there was almost inevitable.
Inevitable, Yu says, because of harmful stereotypes spanning from the age of Pearl Harbor to the pandemic.
Calling the virus Kung flu, you know, China virus, and being attacked on the street. And we started seeing these videos coming through our social media.
And social media is how Yu, living in New York, learned of the Atlanta spa murders. In the documentary, Rising Against Asian Hate, the son of victim Young Yu details the moments he tried to find his mother.
She told me that, yes, they did have a body downtown of a woman named Young Yu. I think I pulled over and just broke down in that moment.
Other surviving family members of violence also share their stories.
People grieve in very different ways. In the end, I think people really wanted to tell their story.
And these stories gave you a purpose, exposed decades of anti-Asian hate. And unfortunately, you found far too many examples.
You know, what that says to me that, you know, things are not going to get better.
Not unless she gives a voice to the voiceless, showcase how differences really make people the same, and share how all Americans can rise against hate.
Our goal was to really document this moment. I wanted to capture that. I wanted people to see that, to live through this past 3 years as an Asian American.
In response to the increases in violence directed towards the AAPI community, another major milestone, Georgia's General Assembly created its first ever caucus dedicated to one of the state's fastest growing populations. The bipartisan group consists of members from Georgia's House and Senate and will work to increase AAPI representation.
The goals of forming a caucus is in fact not about the individuals, right? It's about the communities we serve and the issues we want to advance, and bringing perspectives to the table that don't always get heard in spaces like this.
These lawmakers plan to work to increase AAPI representation at all levels of government. The creation of this new caucus comes on the heels of a record-breaking year for AAPI women, in particular, voted into office here in Georgia. It's not just about lawmakers. Law enforcement also working to better represent and reflect the needs of the community. I got a chance to speak with some of the people working to make a difference, build trust, and help justice be served. Christina McCants joined the Atlanta Police Department 3 years ago, following in her father's footsteps.
My mom wasn't too excited when I decided to do this.
She wasn't too excited when McCants joined the Army in 2008 either. McCants grew up a first-generation Cambodian American. 2 million Cambodians, including McCants' grandfather, a military officer, died in the genocide of the late 70s. It forced McCants' grandmother and her 7 kids to move to Thailand. An American family sponsored their move to the U.S., where she was born in Minnesota.
I take a lot of pride in who I am, what I do, especially the work I put in behind the scenes, investigations, reports. Your name carries everything that you do.
Family, food, and tradition mean a great deal to McCants, but Meredith Yoon with Asian Americans Advancing Justice says police don't have a reputation for respecting that culture.
There's a lack of empathy or patience where there are language barriers. We hear about interactions where our community members feel they are being discriminated against or that their concerns are not being taken seriously.
Yoon says mistreatment, misunderstanding, and stereotypes can break down the trust between the AAPI community and police.
Allowing this harm to continue is an expression of what is valued and what is not. It tells our community members that the issues we face don't matter.
I believe that trust can be rebuilt, even no matter how much time it takes. It just takes us going out there and being seen and being heard.
For McCants, family matters. So does representation. They're part of why she wears the badge, to build a bridge with her community.
Being able to serve the community, our nation, it gives you a different feeling, something you're proud of.
2 professors at Kennesaw State University are working to get more Asian American history inside Georgia classrooms. Their efforts are in response to violence against Asian Americans. The Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism found that anti-Asian hate crimes increased by over 300% in 2021 compared to 2020. Dr. Teresa Alviar Martin and Dr. Sohyun An just received a $50,000 grant to fund their research. They say education is the answer.
If we also teach about Asian American history as a part of American history, then students will learn about the humanity, right? Humanity of Asian American people.
The 2 women are co-authoring a book throughout their research, showing perspectives from Asian Americans in Georgia on why it's important to teach this history in K-12 classrooms. They say limited knowledge about these communities can lead to stereotypes.
In many cases, stereotypes and an enduring perception that Asians are outsiders, even though we are Americans.
The research will be presented to school districts and lawmakers once complete. It's not just here in Georgia. Our colleagues at TV stations around the country have teamed up to show how representation in the classroom makes a difference. Anchors Gia Vang and Michelle Lee are co-founders of the Very Asian Foundation. They're visiting classrooms to donate books by AAPI authors.
At Jiaming Mandarin Immersion Academy in St. Paul, a special delivery of stories awaits.
So this book is called Eyes That Kiss in the Corners.
Stories students can see themselves in.
My eyes are just like Mama's.
This is one book, part of a larger collection by AANHPI authors.
We get to share some really wonderful books. Now you're going to have them in your library, so you get to keep them here at school.
Journalists Gia Vang and Michelle Lee are the co-founders of the Very Asian Foundation. The nonprofit's May Book Project is part of a bigger vision, putting more Asian American youth literature into schools and libraries.
For us growing up, it wasn't something that was easily accessible to have these sorts of books that reflected us.
We have about 42% of Asian students here, so I think it's very fitting for the students to have this event, to see these books, read these books that they can identify with.
Take this one.
The May Book Project has 250 books on its list.
It's vetted, high quality. We also have a rubric and we have a toolkit. So the rubric is just an academic approach into building a diverse library. It's a beautiful thing to be very Asian and to be different and unique. That's cool.
My favorite part about it is how they talk about it's okay to be yourself and it's okay to like yourself.
I think the greatest thing about the Made Book Project is that it's about choice and celebration.
Celebrating seeing yourself as the main character.
And as we celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we are also honoring AAPI leaders in our community. Amy Chung is one of those leaders, making history as the newly elected first Asian American to lead the Atlanta Bar Association. Now she says she's using her platform to promote other diverse voices in the legal industry. Amy Chung's family moved from Beijing, China to Charleston, South Carolina when she was 7 years old.
Dedicated all of their resources and attention to me to make sure that I became the lawyer and person that I am today.
An only child due to China's one-child policy, the culture shock wasn't all too shocking. Relying on family and tradition, Chung found common ground between Asia and America. She found her purpose at Emory Law School.
I know that I'm helping people and leaders of companies who want to make sure that they're always doing right by their employees.
Now the labor and employment litigator is taking on a new challenge. She's the first AAPI woman to be elected president of the prestigious Atlanta Bar Association, a 135-year-old legal organization.
As Atlanta continues to grow and diversify, it's important that the association is able to match that.
I feel like I know a celebrity. I feel like I'm Amy makes me one of the cool kids.
Tina Dorr met Chung a few years ago. The two serve on the Georgia Asian Pacific American Bar Association, which provides mentoring, networking opportunities, translation, and other legal services.
Young lawyers, women lawyers, Asian American lawyers are going to be able to look to her and see someone like themselves in a leadership position.
Chung says she will work to put more Asian Americans in leadership positions to promote more diverse ideas so that the local legal community can grow and evolve with the rest of Atlanta.
It's exciting to be the first AAPI, but it's also exciting to know that I'm hopefully not the last.
Next on Voices for Equality, the pressures to be perfect.
We are essentially being told if we can rise to the stereotype, then we will finally be seen.
What may seem like a positive stereotype can be harmful. The AAPI community is speaking out about the dangers of the model minority myth. The model minority myth is a familiar phrase for many in the AAPI community. It references a stereotype that all those in the community must be overachieving and incredibly successful. Michelle Lee with our sister station in St. Louis shares how this pressure and stereotype has silenced the struggles of many Asian Americans.
I remember growing up, I attended Chinese school, which for those who don't know is this fun extra school that you go on the weekends to learn a heritage language. And I just remember having upperclassmen in Chinese school who were succeeding, whether it was in mathematics, all of these extracurriculars. They would get into cool high schools, like Ivy Leagues. Parents of the Chinese school would praise this person. I had no idea what this accomplishment meant. But what I did feel immediately was I somehow had to compare and be as good as these people.
This is a common experience for many people in the AAPI community, and it can be summed up by one phrase: the model minority myth. It's rooted in stereotypes. It's what forces AAPI children to grow up with the pressure to always overachieve and outperform everyone else.
From a young age, and because I was one of the few, I think your racial identity stands out.
The pressure to be the best can come from different places, like parents and friends. The term model minority itself stems from the apparent success of Japanese Americans in the U.S. following Japanese internment during World War II. Those seemingly positive stereotypes that are often understood as harmless have silenced the struggles of Asian Americans and given them a false sense of belonging.
I think one of the most insidious things also is that we are essentially being told if we can rise to the stereotype, then we will finally be seen. We'll be seen as white. And we can see, of course, that doesn't happen.
Under societal pressures to rise above challenges, mental health is something that's often ignored in the AAPI community. Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders say they often feel discouraged to seek help because of the shame that's often associated with it within the community.
When I first started therapy, it was a huge struggle to get myself to go to acknowledge that I needed the help.
The expectation of perfection among Asian Americans fails to recognize another community of Asian Americans, those who are not neurotypical.
I did not realize growing up that I was neuroatypical because, for one, I was very high achieving in school, so it sort of was swept under the rug, and any sort of symptoms of ADHD and autism that I presented were sort of cast away. They were oh, well, this individual they're really smart, they're not like others.
Today, as anti-Asian hate crimes are on the rise, the reality is setting in that there is no model minority and there is no protection from discrimination. But now, the community is being heard.
To show support and solidarity for those vulnerable communities.
It's being cautious, it's being scared, it's also being proud, and it's also, for the first time, standing up for yourself.
Still ahead on Voices for Equality, he's honoring his family's story while paving the way for others. A Hmong man is sharing his family's journey on the big screen while empowering others in the AAPI community to join the film industry. From Best Picture to the individual acting awards, Asian and AAPI representation showed up big at the Oscars this year. Here in Georgia, local filmmakers are hoping to build on that momentum, making sure their stories are told. I've been following one filmmaker on his journey from the pitch to the big screen. Jeremy Tao is putting the finishing touches on his short film, Walkman. About a year ago, it was just a screenplay.
Walkman is simply the vehicle that I have designed and modded to really engage my viewers into a conversation with me about race.
After months of fundraising, 3 days of shooting around Atlanta, and thousands of dollars poured into this project, Tao's story of growing up in America as part of a Hmong immigrant family will soon come to life on the big screen.
It is about sacrificing a lot of yourself for just the hope that your children will be more successful than you.
Tao got a boost from Film Impact Georgia when the nonprofit gave the young filmmaker $5,000 to help fund his vision. Executive Director Melissa Simpson says while Asian representation in Georgia's film industry is growing, more opportunities, education, and outreach in the AAPI community are needed.
I feel like the rise in Asian hate definitely brought attention to a lot of folks that had not necessarily seen the struggles within the AAPI community.
Those struggles will play out on screen, featuring an immigrant family trying to fit in America. Tao's goal, to stand out at local, national, and international film festivals.
As we continue to make projects, we continue to make efforts to shatter stereotypical molds of people.
He says his film and other recent Asian American made movies prove you don't need superheroes or big budgets to make a big impact.
I am trying to make sure that that's not a flash in the pan, Joe. I'm trying to make sure that this is real and this is staying.
This time of year, we celebrate, honor, and pay tribute to Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in our community and around the world. But why is May the dedicated month? We explain next on Voices for Equality. Welcome back. AAPI Heritage Month is a time for us to celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander culture, history, and achievements here in Georgia and across the nation. But why is May the designated month? Abby Larico with our Verified team explains.
Turning the calendar to a month that needs no abbreviation, May is worth celebrating for a lot of reasons, including the spotlight on our AAPI families and communities. Who exactly are we talking about, and why is May AAPI Heritage Month? We turn to these sources to verify. AAPI stands for Asian American Pacific Islander, those whose ancestry and culture comes from this part of the world. That's more than 19 million people, and Asian Americans are the fastest growing racial or ethnic group in the U.S., according to Pew Research Center analysis. There's a lot of diversity of nationalities and ethnicities within that AAPI label, which is why not everyone agrees on it. People who are Hmong or Indian or Samoan or Vietnamese or Filipino, for example, each bring their own different lived experiences to the table. On one hand, the Smithsonian details how solidarity among Asians, especially since the 1960s, has led to increased visibility. But there's concern that the unique traits and needs of some groups are minimized when lumped together. But May is a chance to share and celebrate this diversity, as well as all we have in common with others. After 3 years of AAPI Heritage Month by way of annual presidential proclamations, this 1992 Act of Congress put it on the calendar permanently, recognizing, quote, Asian and Pacific Americans have contributed significantly to the development of the arts, sciences, government, military, commerce, and education in the United States. According to the official .gov webpage on the topic, May was chosen to commemorate the arrival of the first Japanese immigrants in May of 1843, as well as the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, built by mostly Chinese immigrants in May of 1869. No matter your heritage, May is a great opportunity to support and learn more about the contributions of the AAPI communities in this country and in your town. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
Thanks so much for joining us for this special tribute to our Asian and Pacific Islander community in this edition of 11 Alive's Voices for Equality. To read more about these stories and others in our series, visit our website 11alive.com/voices. Take care and be well.